Committee of Trade, Industry, Tourism, Cooperative Development and Marketing Committee proceed to move to give notice.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to give a notice of the following motion, that this House adopt the report on the Trade, Industry, Tourism, Cooperative and Development Marketing Committee on the vetting of Mr. Elijah Obenyidede and Mr. Elias Okech Orondo for appointment to the position of Homa Bay County Chief Officer.
Thank you. Next is the Chair, Committee of Finance and Economic Planning. Please proceed to give a notice.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the vetting of Mr. Wilson Juma Ochola for appointment of the position of Chief Officer in charge of Economic Planning and Budget for the department. Thank you.
Next is the Chair of Youth, Sports, Talent Development, Gender, Inclusivity, and Cultural Heritage.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Youth, Sports, Talent Development, Gender Inclusivity, Cultural Heritage and Social Services Committee on the vetting of Ms. Ombok Mildred Judith for the position of County Chief Officer. Thank you.
You beg to give a notice, eh? You need to say that.
Yes,
why don't you say it?
Thank you. Let me take it up again, Honorable
Yes.
Speaker.
But I want to advise you that you say, you beg to give a notice at the end, the tail end of it.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Youth, Sports, Talent Development, Gender Inclusivity, Cultural Heritage, and Social Services Committee on the vetting of Ms. Ombok Mildred Judith for the position of County Chief Officer. I beg to give notice.
Well done. Next is the Chair of Public Service and Administration Committee. Honorable Alice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to give notice on the following motion, that this Honorable House adopts the report of the Public Service and Administration on the vetting of Mr. Isaac Victor Ongiri, Mrs. Karen Atieno, and Mr. Kennedy Odhiambo Jala for appointment to the position of County Chief Officers. I beg to give notice.
Well done. Next order, Clerk.
Order number 7, statements.
Next order.
Order number 8, motion, reports of the Trade, Industry, Tourism, Cooperative Development and Marketing Committee on the vetting of Mr. Elijah Obenyidede and Mr. Elias Orondo Okech for appointment as County Chief Officers.
The Chair Trade, Honorable Okuma, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Report on the Trade, Industry, Tourism, Cooperative Development and Marketing Committee on the vetting of Mr. Elijah Obenyidede and Elias Okech Orondo for appointment to the position of County Chief Officers. Acknowledgement. I take this opportunity to thank the members of the Trade, Industry, Tourism, Cooperative Development and Marketing Committee for the dedication and divided attention and contribution during the entire approval hearing. The committee also takes this opportunity to thank the following of the Speaker and that of the Clerk of the County Assembly for the administrative support accorded to it during the exercise. Also appreciate the Secretariat and attached to this committee for their effectiveness and efficiency during the preparation of this report. On behalf of the Trade, Industry, Tourism, Cooperative Development and Marketing Development Committee, and pursuant of the provisions of Section 9(1) and 2 of the Public Appointment County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, Section 45(1) of the County County Government and Act 2012 during order.
1 minute, Honorable Okuma. What is out of order, Honorable Apopo? Be unanswered, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was requesting, based on the time we have this afternoon and the pages of the reports, if we read verbatim word by word, we might take here up to 9 o'clock. Could request the movers to maybe go to the substance of the reports so that we can debate them, because we have them in soft copy. Thank you.
Were you raising on a point of order or a point of, what was the order you are raising? Or you're seeking guidance, Okay, I'll guide at an opportune time. But meanwhile, the members are also aware that we have a short time. Yeah. Please proceed, Honorable Okuma.
On behalf of the Trade, Industry, Tourism, Cooperative Development and Marketing Development Committees, and pursuant of the provision of Section 9(1) and 2 of the Public Appointments, County Assemblies approved Act 2017, Section 45(1) of the County Government Act 2012, the standing order number 195. It is my pleasure and duty to present to this Honorable House the committee's report on the vetting of Mr. Elijah Obeng Dede and Chief Officer in charge of Cooperative Development, and Mr. Elias Orondo as the Chief Officer in charge of investment in the Department of Trade, Industry, Tourism, Cooperative, Marketing and Development. The committee general observation on the suitable of the nominee, Mr. Elijah Obeng Dede. The committee, having considered the nominee as a filed questionnaire pursuant to Section 7 of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approved Act 2017, his curriculum and having had his oral submission during the approval hearing, made the following observations on his suitability for appointment. Number 1, that the nominee is a Kenyan citizen and meet the requirement for the appointment and stipulated in Article 78(1) to the position of Chief Officer for the Cooperative Development, given that he has an executive master degree in business administration and bachelor degree in arts with 28 years working experience. Number 2, that as at the date and time of vetting, an information memorandum petition had been submitted to the office of the County Assembly Clerk from members of the public concerning the suitability of the nominee. Number 3, that the nominee meets the requirement of Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 on leadership and integrity, having obtained clearance from Ethnic and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, DCI, Higher Education Loan Board, HELP, and Credit Reference Bureau, CRB. Number 4, that the nomination is a professional and has demonstrated of absence of breach of the relevant professional's code of conduct. Number 5, that the nominee is eligible, enlightened with a constitutional provision, function, powers and responsibilities as outlined in the County Government Act 2012 and specific function of the county chief officer in charge of cooperative development. Number 6, that the nominee was knowledgeable, competent, confident, had good communication skill, and was excellent in his response to questions during the vetting exercise. The committee observation on the suitability of the nominee, Mr. Elias Okech Orondo. Nominee appeared before the committee on Friday, 2nd June 2023 at 9:45 a.m. and he was rarely interviewed under the pursuant of the provisions of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Public Appointment, County Assemblies and Approval Act 2017, and the Standing Order of the County Assembly. He presented as follows, both oral and in writing, that he is a Kenyan citizen, ID number 24585971, born on 3rd January 1986 in Asumbi, Homa Bay County. Academic and professional qualifications, year 2019 to 2022, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University, undergraduate. Number 2, 2006 and 2009, Maseno University, postgraduate. Number 3, 2007, Kenya Institute of Management, diploma. Number 4, 2001-2004, Kanga High School, secondary school certificate. Number 5, 1988, Soni Soga Primary School certificate. Employment record of work experience. Designation, Deputy Speaker, Homa Bay County Assembly, 2020-2022. Number 2, Member of County Assembly, Homa Bay County Assembly, 2017-2022. Number 3, Regional Sales Manager, Equator Bottles Limited, Coca-Cola, yani January 2011 to June 2011. Number 4, Retail Manager from Safaricom PLC, 2009-2010. Total year of experience. Professional association. The nominee stated that he did not belong to any professional's body as indicated in this field questionnaire. The potential conflict of interest. The nominee did not foresee any potential conflicts of interest as indicated in this field questionnaire. Income and net worth. The nominee stated that his net worth is approximately 32 million. Knowledge of relevant subject. The committee observed that the nominee displayed acceptable standard of competence to fully discharge his duty in the role prescribed presented to the committee of insufficient educational qualification and as pursuant experience to perform the role and the function of the designated office. He is also sufficiently versed with the myriad aspects that go hand in hand with investment role. Integrity. The committee noted that the nominee had complied with all the constitutional and statutory requirements and advice in Article 73 and Article 80 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 by presenting the following original document to the committee. A, current tax compliance certificate from Kenya Revenue Authority. Number 2, KRA Kisumu, dated 1st November 2022. Current compliance certificate from the Higher Education Loan Board, HELB. Current clearance certificate from the Credit Reference Bureau, CRB certificate, with the number NCRB/C 624506, dated 30th June, May 2023. Current police clearance from the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, DCI, reference PCC BT7 AOVV, dated 22nd November 2022. The current duly filled self-declaration form from the Ethnic and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC nominee provided as filled self-declaration form dated 1st November 2022. Individual performance of the nominee during the approval hearing as per the assessment form under the second schedule of the Public Appointment County Assemblies Approval Act. Name of candidate, Elias Okech Orondo. He got 78.22%. Committee observation on the suitability of the nominee Elias Okech Orondo. The committee, having considered the nominee as filled questionnaire pursuant to Section 7 of the Public Appointment County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, his curriculum and having had his oral submission during approval hearing, made the following observation on his suitability for appointment. Number 1, that the nominee is a Kenyan citizen, meets the requirement for the appointment for the position of chief officer for investment, given that he has a bachelor degree in business administration with 8 years working experience. Number 2, that as at the date and time of vetting, no information, memorandum, petition had been submitted to the office of the County Assembly Clerk from members of the public concerning the suitability of the nominee. Number 3, that the nominee meets the requirements of Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 on leaders and integrity, having obtained the clearance from the Ethnic and Anti-Corruption, EACC, Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, Directorate of Criminal Investigation, DCI, Higher Education Loan Board, HELB, Credit Reference Bureau, CRB. Number 4, that the nominee is a professional and has demonstrated absence of breach of relevant professionals' code of conduct, that the nominee was enlightened with the constitutional provision, functions, powers, and responsibilities and outlined in the County Government Act 2012 and specific functions on the county chief officer in charge of investment. That the nominee was knowledgeable and had good communication skill and responded adequately to questions during the vetting exercise. Committee recommendations. Section 8(1) of the County Government Act 2012 stipulate that the County Assembly shall vet and approve nominee for appointment to county public office as may be provided for in this act or any other law. Number 1, that this House approves the nomination of Mr. Elijah Obenyidede appointment to the position of Chief Officer for Cooperatives Development in the Department of Trade, Industry, Tourism, Cooperative Development and Marketing. Number 2, that this House approves the nominations of Mr. Elias Okech Orondo for appointment to the position of Chief Officer for Investment in the Department of Trade, Industry, Tourism, Cooperative Development and Marketing. I pray the Trade, Industry, Tourism, Cooperative Development and Marketing Committee prays that
Chair, please, can you come up again on that bit that you're reading?
praise
From the last bit that you are reading, can you come out again?
prayer the Trade, Industry, Tourism, Cooperative Development and Marketing Committee prays that the County Assembly adopt this report. I beg to move and to second.
Thank you. Who is seconding you? Who is seconding you, Chair?
Mheshimiwa Jessica.
Honorable Jessica. Chair, sit down. As she. Okay. All the members, the report having been read elaborately by the Chair, Trade, Industry, Tourism, Corporate Development and Marketing, Honorable Sakai Okuma, and seconded by the Vice Chair of the Committee, Honorable Jessica Otieno, I therefore propose the question that this House adopt a report of Trade, Industry, Tourism, Cooperative Development and Marketing Committee on the vetting of Mr. Elijah Obenyidede and Mr. Elias Orondo Okech for appointment as the County Chief Officers. The question is proposed. Can we have a few comments before I put? At least 2 comments. Honorable Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you and the Committee on Trade for a report well brought to the floor of the House. I want to say that the 2 gentlemen who were appointed to the position of Chief Officers in the Department of Trade are really worth. You got the name Elias Orondo, who was once our Deputy Speaker here. He's up to the task. And his colleague also, looking at considering the marks that they got during the vetting process, I believe that the 2 gentlemen are going to do a good job for the county. Otherwise, I want to thank you.
You are supporting?
I support the adoption of the report.
Thank you, Deputy Majority Leader. Honorable Florence Ouma, the special elected member.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for granting me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Chair for ably putting the proposal Having looked at the two proposals and listened to the presentation of the chair, Mr. Speaker, looking at Mr. Dede, having gone through his experience, we find that he has had experiences in one of the most disciplined areas, that is the banking sector. Mr. Speaker, for one to be a CEO of a banking sector for that period of time, it tells you that this is a very competent person and a person of integrity, a person who can manage. Remember that the CEO is going to be an accounting officer. So having that experience will give us a person who will be able to handle that department and the finances that are there ably. Mr. Speaker, if we also still looking at Mr. Dede, the gentleman has a degree in sociology, a course that really helps in management, especially when it comes to human resource. Coupled up with that, we have Mr. Orondo. Just as the deputy majority has said, we had the opportunity of listening to how he used to be in this very assembly and the way he was handling the issues. He also has a training from Kenya Institute of Management. That is one of the best institutions when it comes to training on how to manage. Remember, other than finances, these are people who are in charge of human resource, if not the directors. Other than that, both of them have gone through leadership trainings, of which has given them good background. Therefore, I also support. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Florence. I'm not seeing any buzzer. Do I put the question? Do I put or I give you time to debate?
Put.
Okay. I want to request the chair of trade to maybe give reply to what the members maybe have not said or what they have said or they have raised. Chair trade, you have 2 minutes to give reply.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank all members who have contributed to this motion. Also, I thank also Mr. Speaker for supporting us and staffs. I know that those two chief officers will work and will deliver according to their experiences. They are not just people are seeing outside here, because one of them have worked in this house. And another one is also, according to the experience of working to the bank, I know they will deliver to the people of Homa Bay County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Well done. Well done, Chair. All members, the members you've debated and think you are in concurrence with the report. I therefore put the question that this House adopt the report of Trade, Industry, Tourism, Cooperative Development and Marketing Committee on the vetting of Mr. Elijah Obindede and Mr. Elias Orondo Kech for appointment as county chief officers. Will as many or similar opinions say aye? Aye. Will as many of the court of opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, report of the Finance and Economic Planning Committee on the vetting of Mr. Wilson Jumochola for appointment as a county chief officer.
Chair, before you move your motion, I want to clarify as concerns the matter that was raised by Honorable Lentana Popo, that this is a report that the members are aware of. You don't need to go through the document. The document is already supplied to the members' tablets, so you only highlight areas that you feel are of importance for the public consumption. Thank you. Can you proceed?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand guided. Honorable members, the report of the committee is in our walls. On page 6, we, the Committee of Finance, do appreciate and acknowledge all those who supported the process of vetting and production of this report. Mr. Speaker, we also have the introduction of the nominee, the process of nomination of Mr. Wilson from page 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 and 14. There we'll find the procedure that were followed before arriving at the name of Mr. Wilson. Honorable Speaker, this committee's vetting is also indicated on page 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Honorable Speaker, the committee's observation are, one, that the nominee was, and that is on page 20, that the nominee was competitively sourced and recommended by the County Public Service Board, that at the time of vetting, no information or memorandum or petition from the public had been submitted to the office of the clerk concerning the suitability of the nominee, that the nominee meets the requirement of Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya, 2010, on leadership and integrity, that the nominee was conversant with the relevant provisions of the law, functions and responsibilities of the chief officer in charge of economic planning, that the nominee demonstrated high level of professionalism, having served in various institutions without breach of any professional code of conduct. There are assessments of the committee, and Honorable Speaker, from the report and what the committee found was that this was a man who had worked in the financial management sectors. He was, for some good time, a manager, CDF manager, that is Constituency Development Fund manager, in various stations, and at no time was he reported to have committed or contravened the law of this land. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, on page 22, the committee, and before that, Honorable Speaker, the academic credential and other testimonials of the nominee are on page 24 to page 63. So members can go through the pages. Honorable Speaker, the committee's recommendation, the nominee, having been vetted by the committee, scoring an average marks of 62.6%, and in keeping with the provision of Section 8(1)(a) of the County Government Act of 2012, Section 9(2) of Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, and Standing Order number 195, the Finance and Economic Planning Committee recommends that this House approves the nomination of Mr. Wilson Juma Ochola for appointment to the position of Chief Officer for Economic Planning and Budget for the Department of Finance and Economic Planning. It's therefore our prayer, Honorable Speaker, that we, the Finance and Economic Planning Committee, prays that this Honorable House do adopt this report. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well done. Who is seconding you?
Honorable Speaker, I request my Honorable Deputy Chair, Honorable Pauline, to second.
Thank you. Well done. Honorable Pauline.
Asante sana Bwana Spika. Kwanza kabisa nitatoa shukrani zangu kwa kumshukuru mwenyekiti wa fedha, uchumi na mpangilio na wanakamati wote kwa kazi nzuri ambao wamefanya. Afisa mkuu mteule Bwana Ochola Wilson, kwanza kabisa alipofika mbele yetu alikuwa na sifa 4, na hizo sifa 4 alikuwa nazo. Nina hakika akipata nafasi, niko na hakika ya kuwa atafanya kazi nzuri sana. Sifa ya kwanza, alikuwa mnyenyekevu mbele yetu. Sifa ya pili, alikuwa msomi kabisa, amekula karatasi ya kutosha. Alikuwa hana ufisadi yoyote. na hati zake za masomo pia zikuwa na ukarabati yoyote. Tena kabisa ya mwisho, mteule wetu afisa mkuu Bwana Ochola alikuwa ni mcha Mungu. Ningependa niunge mkono. Asante sana Bwana Spika.
Well done. Well done. Honorable members, the report of finance economic planning having been moved by the chair, Honorable Boaz Kiri Kakiri, and seconded by the vice chair, elaborately in that language which she understands best. I therefore propose the question that this House adopts a report of the Finance and Economic Planning Committee on the vetting of Mr. Wilson Juma Ochola for appointment as a county chief officer. The question is proposed. Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Okomo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to thank the Finance Committee for an elaborate report about the nominees. Two, for our county to function, it needs technocrats. And one of the technocrats are the nominees before us. And I rise to support the adoption of this report because when this process was done, the due process was followed according to the laid laws of this nation. And when we are going through their credentials, none of them has been charged in a court of law, which means they have met the threshold of Chapter 6. And we have also realized that there are people who are well educated and have experience that we need to push this county forward. And therefore, I support the adoption of the report. Thank you very much, Mr. Honorable Speaker.
Well done, well done. Honorable Victor Obuya, the MC for Wanchi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a report is as good as its findings. I want to thank the Committee of Finance, the Chair, and the Secretariat for a report with substance. Sir Wilson Ochola is a man known to me. He is a good character. And Mr. Speaker, he demonstrated it all here before the House. I was privileged to have been one of the people who were present when he was being vetted. This is a man with good understanding of where he is going. Mr. Speaker, Wilson Juma Ochola has served in several institutions, huge institutions, Mr. Speaker, controlling finances, but never was there a petition against him on any issue dealing with embezzlement, Mr. Speaker. He is as clean as he appeared before us. Mr. Speaker, this is a man who is properly read. The institutions he attended demonstrates clearly that he is so advanced and he merits this position, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, as an assembly, we have urged our departments to go for merit. The engineering department goes for engineers. Financial institutions should go for people with financial expertise. Going by what we adduced here, when Wilson was being vetted. And Mr. Speaker, if you keenly peruse and scrutinize his papers, this is a man who deserves this position. I beg this assembly, Mr. Speaker, to adopt the report.
Honorable members, I now put the question that this House adopt a report of the Finance and Economic Planning Committee on the vetting of Mr. Wilson Juma Ochola for appointment as the County Chief Officer. Will as many of similar opinions say aye? Aye. Will as many of opinions say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, motion, report of the Youth, Sports, Talent Development, Gender Inclusivity, Cultural Heritage and Social Services Committee on the vetting of Ms. Ombok Mildred Judith for appointment as a County Chief Officer.
Chair, Youth, Sports, Talent Development, Gender Inclusivity and Cultural Heritage, Social Services, Honorable Susan Onyango. Proceed to prosecute your case.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. This is a report of the Youth, Sports, Talent Development, Gender Inclusivity, Cultural Heritage and Social Services Committee on the vetting of Ms. Ombok Mildred Judith for the position of County Chief Officer. We have table of contents as indicated in the report. List of abbreviations members can go through. Allow me to take the members on the mandate of the committee. The Sectoral Committee on Youth, Sport, Talent Development, Gender Inclusivity, Cultural, Heritage and Social Services is established pursuant to provisions of the Homa Bay County Assembly Standing Order number 195, Part 5. General mandate, as in the report. Specific mandate. The committee was specifically mandated to undertake the vetting of Ms. Ombok Mildred Judith, the nominee for the position of Homa Bay County Chief Officer for Gender, Inclusivity, and Women Empowerment as forwarded to the County Assembly by Her Excellency the Governor. The committee was to report back to the House within 21 days from the date of its first sitting to consider the said nomination in line with the Speaker's communication number 25 of 2023. Committee membership as in the report. The adoption of the committee report, it was adopted by 9 members. Acknowledgement. On behalf of the Youth, Sports, Talent Development, Gender Inclusivity, Cultural Heritage and Social Services Committee, and pursuant to provisions of Section 6, 7, 8, 9 of the Public Appointments County Assembly's Approval Act 2017, it is my pleasure and duty to present to this Honorable House the report on the Youth, Sports, Talent Development, Gender Inclusivity, Cultural Heritage and Social Services Committee on approval hearing of the nominee for the position of Chief Officer for Gender Inclusivity and Women Empowerment. Introduction as in the report. Notification of nomination as indicated in the report. Notification to the House and committal to the committee. Allow me to take members through. Pursuant to the provisions of Section 6, 7.1 and 9.1 of the Public Appointments County Assembly Approval Act 2017 and Standing Order number 195, the Honorable Speaker on 25th May 2023 notified the County Assembly on the nomination of Ms. Ombok Mildred Judith for approval as the Chief Officer for Gender Inclusivity and Women Empowerment. The notification of nomination was therefore referred to the Youth, Sports, Talent Development, Gender Inclusivity, Cultural Heritage and Social Services Committee for vetting and reporting to the House within 21 days from the date on which the committee first sits to consider the nomination. Notification to the nominee. Section 7.4 of the Public Appointments County Assembly's Approval Act 2017 provides that the clerk shall notify a candidate of the time and place for holding of approval hearing by notice in at least 2 newspapers of national circulation and by writing and such other form of communication as the clerk shall consider appropriate. Pursuant to the above provisions of the law, the clerk of the county assembly invited the nominees through print media informing members of the public and the nominee of the date of the hearing, and inviting the public to submit our office any information, memorandum, petition in writing in conformity with Section 710 of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017. Notification to the public. Pursuant to the provisions of Article 196(1) of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and Section 7(5) of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, the clerk of the County Assembly placed an advert in print media on Friday, 26 May 2023, inviting the public to submit any information, memorandum, petition under oath that may have a bearing on the selection and vetting of the candidates by Wednesday, 31st May 2023. The public was expected to participate in the vetting process through the submission of memoranda to the County Assembly. Further, the advertisement notified the general public of the date and place of approval hearing. As at 31st May 2023, no information or memorandum or petition was received from the public concerning the suitability of the nominee. Submission of documents by the nominee as indicated in the report. Criteria for the approval hearing and issues for consideration. May I take members through this? Honorable Speaker, in undertaking this report, the committee was guided by Chapter 6 and Article 196(1) and 2 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Section 45 of the County Governments Act 2012, Section 7, 8, 9, and 10 of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, and the Homa Bay County Assembly Standing Orders. Honorable Speaker, Section 712 of the Public Appointments County Assembly Approval Act 2017 provides that a candidate may, at any time, by notice in writing, address to the clerk withdrawal from the approval process, and the candidate's nomination shall thereupon lapse. In this case, the nominee appeared for vetting. Further, Section 8 of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017 provide for consideration by the relevant county assembly in relation to any nomination shall be 1, the procedure used to arrive at the nominee; 2, constitutional or statutory requirements relating to the office in question; 3, suitability of the nominee for appointment proposed having regard to whether the nominee's credentials, abilities, experience, and qualities meet the needs of the field to which nomination is being made. Concerning the procedure used to arrive at the nominee, committee was informed that the vacancy for the position of Chief Officer in charge of gender, inclusivity, and women empowerment was advertised by the Homa Bay County Public Service Board in the Daily Nation newspaper on Friday, 28 October 2022, as outlined in Section 45(1)(a) of the County Governments Act 2012. The advert attracted a total of 81 applicants, for which 44 submitted through hand delivery and 37 online. The County Public Service Board shortlisted 10 candidates for interview. From the shortlisted candidates, they further submitted 3 names to the governor for nomination. These were Ms. Ombok Mildred Judith, Ms. Liz Akinyomolo, and Ms. Martha Atino Uyugi. Her Excellency Governor nominated Ms. Ombok Mildred Judith for the position of Chief Officer for Gender, Inclusivity, and Women Empowerment for vetting and approval by the County Assembly. Committee meetings, as contained in the report. Functions of the Chief Officer, as contained in the report. Approval hearing, as contained in the report. Members can go through. Allow me to take members through the vetting of the County Chief Officer for Gender, Inclusivity, and Women Empowerment. The committee held approval hearing of the nominee on Monday, 5th June 2023 at 11 a.m. The hearing was in the County Assembly chambers and was open to the members of the public. Ms. Ombok Mildred Judith of ID number 23295713 appeared before the committee on the aforementioned date and time and was orally interviewed under oath pursuant to provisions of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the Public Appointments County Assemblies Act 2017. In conducting the vetting process, the committee examined the nominee against the following criteria amongst others, as set out in the first schedule of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017. 1, academic credential or educational background. 2, employment record or work experience. 3, professional affiliations. D, honors and award. E, potential conflict of interest. F, knowledge of the relevant subject. G, integrity. In addition to above, a person qualifies for appointment as county chief officer if such a person is a Kenyan citizen. The rest members can go through. The academic credential and educational background of Ms. Ombok Mildred. The year 2017, she was in Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. Level of study, Master of Science in Human Resources. Let me take through, members. The committee noted that the nominee belonged to the following professional bodies: Institute of Human Resource Management, membership number 15959. Institute of Customer Experience, membership number as indicated in the report. Employment record or work experience as in the report. Honors and award as in the report. Integrity as in the report. Allow me to take members through the potential conflict of interest. The committee determined that the nominee exhaustively dealt with the issue of conflict of interest by outlining how she will handle it as follows: by declaring the said conflict if it arises, by following the laid down procedures of handling conflict of interest. Knowledge of the relevant subject. The nominee submitted academic credentials to the committee that proved that she was qualified for the position despite having worked in the banking sector for over 15 years. The rest members can go through. Income and net worth. The nominee stated that her net worth was estimated to be 7 million as stated in her questionnaire and during the vetting exercise. The ratings. Ms. Mildred Ombok scored an average marks of 71.6%. That was a good performance. Allow me to take members through the committee observations. Honorable Speaker, the committee, having considered the nominee's field questionnaire pursuant to provisions of Section 7 of the Public Appointments County Assemblies Approval Act 2017, her curriculum vitae, having had her oral submissions during approval hearing and further analysis of assessment forms, made the following observations on the suitability of the nominee. 1, that as at the date and time of vetting, no information memorandum petition had been submitted to the office of the County Assembly Clerk from the members of the public.
Thank you, members. The report having been moved by Honorable Susan Onyango, who is a very senior member of this House, seconded by Honorable Milka Oron, and this is the Committee of Youth, Sports, Talent Development, Gender Inclusivity, Cultural Heritage, and Social Services. The committee that deals with matters women mostly. I therefore pose the question that this House adopt a report of Youth, Sports, Talent Development, Gender Inclusivity, Cultural Heritage and Social Services Committee on the vetting of Ms. Ombok Judith for appointment as the County Chief Officer. The question is proposed. Can I have your comments? On from North Kachwanya Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Please be answered.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm rising under Standing Order number 28 to move the following motion, Mr. Speaker.
Just a moment, let me check on the Standing Order number 28. Okay, proceed. I wish you are guided by the clerk. Clerk, can you guide him? You are guided?
Mr. Speaker, be guided.
Yes.
And I want to plead with you that I'll move this motion maybe later. Allow me just sit and consult with my papers, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Majority Leader. Honorable Dongo, proceed.
So thank you, Mr. Speaker, once more. Mr. Speaker, the lady Mboko Mildred was not handed this position to this level of vetting, but it was done competitively. It was done through the Public Service Board. She was chosen among many others. Mr. Speaker, this came because of our competency. Mr. Speaker, when we look at chapter 6, the lady has met all the requirements. She's never been convicted in Kenya and any part of this world. Mr. Speaker, I would therefore very categorically support the adoption of this report from the Gender, Sports, and Inclusivity and Women Empowerment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Well done, Honorable Dongo. Are there Honorable Evelyn Otieno, the senior member?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for granting me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the youth fraternity in the House. I want to say that from the report that has just been read by the able chair, Susan Onyango, Honorable Senior Member, I want to concur with her and the Committee of Sports, Gender, that Mildred Ombok stands a chance to be given an opportunity to serve in the Department of the Youths. You remember with the coming of the devolution and having vetted quite a number of candidates for different positions of chief officers, I want to concur with the Youth Committee that they have given us one of the best, and they have given us their third rule that is very important for the gender issues. I want to say that Mildred Ombok deserves the position because of the credentials that she has given to support her fight for the position. I also want to say that women, given an opportunity, they can always do their best. I want to support and I want to support and concur with the committee that Mildred deserves the position, and I support and adopt the report that has been presented this afternoon by the chair of Sports, Gender, and others. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, I'm not seeing any buzzer. Do I request the mover to reply? Chair of this long titled ministry, Chair of Committee on Youth, Sports, Talent Development, Gender, Inclusivity, Cultural Heritage, and Social Services, Honorable Susan Onyango. Please proceed to give a reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, may I take this opportunity to thank all honorable members who have had time to debate on this report. Honorable Speaker, when Ms. Ombok Mildred has been given this opportunity to serve the Homa Bay County at large, I know she has an experience and will take this county to greater heights. Honorable Speaker, it is high time that we need to have a substantive chief officer in that department. Otherwise, thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, I now put the question that this House adopt a report of the Youth, Sports, Talent Development, Gender Inclusivity, Cultural Heritage, and Social Services Committee on the vetting of Ms. Ombok Mildred Judith for appointment as the county chief officer. Will as many of the similar opinions say aye? Aye. Will as many of the contrary opinions say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 11, motion, report of the Public Service and Administration Committee on the vetting of Mr. Isaac Victor Ongiri, Mr. Kennedy Odhiambo Jala, and Ms. Karen Atieno Otieno for appointment as county chief officers.
Let's consult a bit before we call the motion mover. Majority. Chair, Public Service and Administration, you can now proceed to prosecute your case.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to read on the report of the Public Service and Administration Committee on the vetting of Mr. Isaac Victor Ongiri, Mrs. Karen Atieno Otieno, and Mr. Kennedy Odhiambo Jala for appointment to the position of County Chief Officer. We have the table of content you'll go through. We have the abbreviations. I will start with the committee mandate. Mr. Speaker, the committee mandate on public service and administration is established pursuant to provision of the standing order number 19-1. The major function of this committee is to consider the matters relating public service and administration of the county, and as outlined in standing order number 191, section 2. Specific mandate, the committee was particularly mandated to vet and report to the House on the suitability for appointment of Mr. Isaac Victor Ongiri, Mrs. Karen Atieno Otieno, and Mr. Kennedy Odhiambo Jala for the position of Chief Officer in charge of administration and devolution, public communication, and stakeholder management, respectively in the Department of Governance, Administration, Communication, and Devolution. We have the membership committee. You can look at them at the Secretariat. The report was adopted by 5 members. I will read the acknowledgement. The committee wishes to render its sincere gratitude to all committee members for their input and valuable contribution during deliberations and vetting exercise. The committee also takes this opportunity to thank the offices of Speaker and the Clerk to the County Assembly for the logistical support accorded to during the vetting exercise. The committee wishes to express its appreciation for the services rendered by the County Assembly staff attached to the committee. Their tireless efforts during vetting and report preparation made the whole process seamless. Members can read on chapter 2. You can go through that. Committee meeting. The committee held on its first meeting on 25th May, 23rd afternoon, and subsequent meetings to consider the nominations all through the processing of the report. All knows the function of chief officers. You can go through it. Requirements for appointment, the chief officers, you can go through that. We have the first nominee was called Mr. Isaac Victor Ongiri, the nominee for the position of Chief Officer for Administration and Devolution. The nominee appeared before the committee on Monday, as you know. There is a date of birth there. You can see the academic and professional qualifications is there. You can go through it. We have professional association and membership. You can look at it. employment record and work experience. Also, you can look at them. Honors and award, income and net worth, and integrity. The nominee has also been cleared by the TransUnion Reference Bureau Limited via CRN number MCRB stroke, that one dated 21st September 2022. Potential conflict of interest, the nominee has no conflict of interest that may hamper delivery of services. We have the assessment form there of the nominee. You can look at it. You can look at it, and the knowledge relevant to the subject. We are going to the second nominee, Karen Atieno Otieno, the nominee for the position of Chief Officer for Public Communication. The nominee for the position of Chief Officer in charge of Public Communication appeared before the committee on 5th Monday, June 2023 at 4 and was vetted under the oath pursuant to County Government Act 2012 and Section 7 of Public Appointments, County Assembly Approval Act 2017. We have the date of birth, you can look at it, academic and professional qualifications. We have also professional association and membership. You can look at the employment record and experience, honors and awards, income and net worth, integrity too. We have the assessment of the second nominee. You can look at it. She scored 82% out of 100. I'm going to the third nominee, who is called Kennedy Odhiambo Jala, the nominee for the position of Chief Officer for Stakeholder Management. The nominee for the position of Chief Officer in charge of Stakeholder Management appeared before the committee on Monday, 5th June 2023 at 5 p.m. and was vetted under the oath pursuant to the to County Government Act 2012 and Section 7 of Public Appointments, County Assembly Approval Act, and the nominee made oral and written submission as follows. We have date of birth, academic and professional qualifications. You can go through it. Professional qualification and membership, employment record and work experience, income and net worth. Potential conflict of interest. The nominee has no conflict of interest that may hamper delivery of services. You can go through. We have knowledge of relevant subjects. You can look at it, integrity. And integrity. The assessment of the nominee is there. You can look at it. He scored 70%, and it was awarded. 70%. He scored the above average. Now we have the committee observation. The committee, in the course of discharging its mandate, made the following observations: that the nominee were competitively sourced and recommended by the Public Service Board to the governor for nomination as outlined in Section 45 of the County Government Act 2012. That no memorandum was received from members of the public on the suitability or otherwise of the nominees in question. That the nominees had never been dismissed or removed from office for contravention of the provision of Article 75 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. That the nominees' work experience, exposure, and knowledge is sufficient enough to meet the requirements of Section 35, Section 3B, of the County Government Act 2012 on suitability. That the vetting of nominee Mr. Isaac Victor Ongiri was the position of the County Chief Officer in charge of administration and devolution yielded the result as outlined below. The questionnaire to be filled in full, satisfactory, a minimum of degree, and all that, you can look at them. That Mrs. Karen Atieno, the nominee for the position of Chief Officer in charge of public communication, yielded results as outlined below. Questionnaire to be filled in full, satisfactory, a minimum degree of recognized institution, you can go through it. The last person is that the vetting of Mr. Kennedy Odhiambo Jala, the nominee for the position of Chief Officer in charge of stakeholder management, yielded the results as outlined below. Questionnaire to be filled in full, a minimum degree from a recognized institution, knowledge of the relevant subject, experience relevant to the position, and all that. The nominee, having served as a trade development representative with the Safaricom PLC, had demonstrated professional experience. You can look at that. We have the committee recommendations. According to Section 81A of the County Government Act 2012 stipulates that the County Assembly shall vet and approve nominees for appointment to county public officers as may be provided for in this act or any other law. The committee considered the submissions of the nominees on oath together with the forwarded documents from Her Excellency the Governor of Homa Bay County as the appointing authority and the interviews of the public on the suitability of the relevant laws. Excuse me. Pursuant to Section 9(2) of the Public Appointment County Assembly Approval Act 2017, the committee set a pass mark of 50% during the approval hearing of Mr. Isaac Ongiri, Karen Atieno, and Kennedy Ojala for appointment of the position of Chief Officers in charge of administration and devolution, public communication and stakeholders management, respectively. The nominees scored averagely as indicated below. You can look at that. The committee, therefore, unanimously made the following recommendation. One, that the House approves the nomination of Mr. Isaac Victor Ongiri to the position of Chief Officer in charge of administration and devolution in the Department of Governance, Administration, Communication, and Devolution. Two, that the House approves the nomination of Mrs. Karen Atieno to the position of Chief Officer in charge of public communication in the Department of Governance, Administration, Communication, and Devolution. Three, that the House approves the nomination of Mr. Kennedy Odhiambo Jala to the position of Chief Officer in charge of stakeholder management in the Department of Governance, Administration, Communication, and Devolution. Prayer of the committee. The Public Service and Administration Committee prays that the Honorable House adopts this report on the vetting of Mr. Isaac Victor Ongiri, Mrs. Karen Atieno, and Mr. Kennedy Odhiambo Jala for appointment to the position of County Chief Officers. I will ask Honorable Victor to second.
Well done, Honorable Alice. Honorable Victor Buya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me firstly congratulate my very able chair, Honorable Alice Winga, the entire committee and the pool of clerks that were attached to our committee for a wonderful report. Mr. Speaker, we sat in this house when the two gentlemen and lady appeared before us. Mr. Speaker, we interrogated wonderful characters. We went very deep with the tooth combs and came up with this report, Mr. Speaker. These are characters that this county needs. I beseech this House, Mr. Speaker, to adopt this report on the recommendation of our committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to second.
Well done. Honourable members, the motion of the Public Service and Administration Committee has been moved by the Chair, Honourable Alice Winga, and seconded by the member of the committee, Honourable Victor Buya. I therefore propose the question that this House adopts the report of Public Service Administration Committee on the vetting of Mr. Isaac Victor Ongeri, Ms. Karen Atieno Tieno, and Mr. Kennedy Odhiambo Jala for appointment as county chief officers. The question is proposed. Comments? Honorable Apopo Lentana.
Mr. Speaker, you have invited for my comment on this regard, but I want to say first to thank the committee for the job well done regarding the vetting of the nominees for appointments. I want to specifically talk with regards to one, Mr. Jala, a very young boy, less than 30 years old, probably 25, who has just stepped out of the university and has gotten this opportunity. I want to thank actually the governor for giving this young boy a chance. Young man, a chance to showcase what he can offer to the county government of Homa Bay with regards to stakeholder engagement. In this regard, I will register my support to the committee with him and the other two nominees that as a House, let us pass this report and pave way for their appointments to this position. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well done. Well done, Honorable Apopo Lentana. Honorable Samuel Yeta, the member for West Kashmir Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I would like to support this report, but more so on the lady from the fourth experience of the fourth estate, Lady Karen Otieno, who in her experience, which starts from 2011, having worked for Citizen Television Network, Citizen Television Kenya, as a director and presenter, another experience with Kenya Television Network, a UK correspondent in 2013, that is vast experience in public communication, one with Metropolitan